On December 27, 1892, Livingstone and Biddle College, now known as Johnson C. Smith University, played in Salisbury, North Carolina, with Biddle winning 5-0. Over time, HBCU football has evolved. HBCU football's popularity continues to rise. Millions attend games each year and millions more watch on television. The HBCU bands provide some of the top entertainment in the country. Over that time, some of the best players to ever play in the National Football League played at HBCUs. Every Monday through Friday on the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, national radio and television host Donal Ware takes a look at what's happening in HBCU football and talks with coaches, players, administrators, and media about the season. Make sure you join the conversation on social media. Now, here's your host, Donal Ware.
You've got it locked to the HBCU Football Daily Podcast for today, Thursday, October 5th. I'm Donal Ware. Before we start the podcast, I know certainly my thoughts and prayers are with those affected by the shooting on the campus of Morgan State University. It is, in fact, my alma mater. Anytime anything like this happens, it's sad, but certainly makes me sad as my alma mater. And so thoughts and prayers with those affected. Also, hadn't mentioned, is kind of been away. Thoughts and prayers with the Bozeman family, and specifically Todd Bozeman, the former head basketball coach at Morgan State, whose son was fatally shot and killed in Washington, D.C. A couple of weeks ago. And gun violence is just, it's unbelievable. So thoughts and prayers with those with the Morgan State University family as a whole, with these two very tragic incidences. So we're going to transition now to week 6 in HBCU football and take a look at the schedule as Arkansas Baptist hosts Texas College. Now, this is an opportunity for both football teams. One of these football teams is going to get its first victory of the season. I don't know a whole lot right now about Arkansas Baptist, Texas College. I had a chance to see Texas College play last week on video, and the Steelers had an opportunity to win the game late, get their first victory of the season, could not get it done. So we'll see if this is the week that the Steers can make it happen. Delaware State is on the road taking on Central Connecticut. Elizabeth City State is at home hosting Virginia Union. If you're the Panthers, you're Virginia Union. This is the ultimate. If there's any such thing as a trap game, this is the ultimate trap game. Marcus Hilliard is the head coach there at Elizabeth City State, knows Dr. Alvin Parker and that staff at Virginia Union very, very well throughout their assistant or really coaching days overall. So this is one of those games where if you're Virginia Union, you got to stay focused, because Virginia Union looking for that first Northern Division title in quite some time. Still a lot of season left to play, but if the Panthers get tripped up here, then it's going to be hard for the Panthers to win that Northern Division. Not impossible, but you then be one game back. The ultimate trap game. Florida Memorial is hosting Warner. Morgan State is hosting Stony Brook. St. Augustine's looking for its first victory of the season. Got a tall task hosting Fayetteville State. Shaw is hosting Johnson C. Smith. Winston-Salem State looking to bounce back after having its 2-game winning streak snapped last week, is hosting Livingstone. West Virginia State on the road at Notre Dame of Ohio. This is a West Virginia State team that is only one game back, only one loss. No games back in the conference, okay? Because right now Charleston is undefeated in overall, whereas West Virginia State only has one loss, and that was to an FCS opponent. So let me rephrase: West Virginia State at the top of the Mountain East, wants to stay at the top, but got to take care of business against Notre Dame of Ohio. Alabama State and is hosting Bethune-Cookman. Langston, looking to make it 3 straight, is at home against Oklahoma Panhandle State. Lincoln of Missouri hosts Northeastern State. Howard on the road taking on Northwestern. Now, this is a Northwestern program that has been much maligned with hazing allegations, and it's a program that's 2-3 on the season, and losing its last game to Penn State. Howard is stepping up. This is a prime opportunity for the Howard Bison and Howard's second FBS opponent of the season. Bowie State is hosting Virginia State. This is a critical, I think, Northern Division matchup, more so for Bowie State. I think a loss by Bowie State, because Virginia State's undefeated. So a loss and still has schedule in front of it. A loss by Bowie State, who already has a loss in the CIAA, would be devastating for the Bulldogs, especially in that tough Northern Division. Edward Water hosts Lane. North Carolina Central, coming off the big come-from-behind victory over Campbell last week's got another CAA opponent. Its third CAA opponent of the season is on the road at Elon. Speaking of Campbell, Hampton will play its CAA, will play in the CAA opening, I believe it's the opening game in the CAA for Hampton, hosting Campbell. South Carolina State host Virginia Lynchburg. Alcorn State and Grambling State get together, possibly the HBCU national game of the week. I say possibly. Alcorn State. Grambling's undefeated in conference play. As a matter of fact, it's won 3 straight football games, and Alcorn State eked out that overtime victory over Alabama State last week. That's a critical game. A win by Alcorn State. Alcorn State's right back in it. A loss by Grambling. And now all of the teams in the Western Division, or at least Grambling, Alcorn State, who are right at the top, Prairie View A&M also all right there, but a win by Grambling State separates itself, and the Tigers would remain undefeated in SWAC play. Jackson State hosts Alabama A&M. This is really a pivotal game for both teams. We know Jackson State's already lost to Florida A&M, who I believe will run away with the Eastern Division. Of course, now with Florida A&M, still got a lot of football left to play, including the game against Bethune-Cookman to end the season. Florida A&M did win that football game last year, but that game could go either way. But, you know, this is a critical game for both. A loss by either pretty much knocks both out, or either, whoever loses, out of the SWAC's Eastern Division championship running. Bluefield State hosts Lincoln of Pennsylvania. Tennessee State is on the road in a conference, or on the road taking on Kennesaw State. Miles and Benedict meet in Fairfield, Alabama. It's a home game for Miles. That is on the radar as an HBCU national game of the week. And that's a big football game. Benedict is undefeated. Miles only 1 loss on the season. Albany State hosts Central State. North Carolina A&T steps back into CAA play, hosting Villanova. Prairie View A&M hosts Mississippi Valley State. Southern hosts Florida A&M. Now, again, this is a big football game because Southern is playing well in conference play. By the way, excuse me, when I mentioned the Western Division, Southern was the team that I failed to mention in the SWAC Western Division, who's right there. Florida A&M is looking right now like the team to beat in the SWAC. Should be a great football game. I would think a sellout in Baton Rouge. Allen looking to get back into the win column after dropping its first game of the season last week, is hosting Clark Atlanta. Fort Valley State is hosting Savannah State. I think more of a critical game for Fort Valley State to stay in that running for the SIAC, or for the right to play in the SIAC championship game in the SIAC. There's no more, as you know, no more divisional play. So the two top teams from the SIAC will play in the championship game. It is the Morehouse Tuskegee Classic. Morehouse Tuskegee Classic in Birmingham, and Morehouse winless on the season. Tuskegee hasn't lost a game on the season. Last game, Kentucky State going to step out of conference and play at Grand Valley State in Allendale, Michigan. So that's a look at the Week 6 schedule in HBCU football. On tomorrow, we will have and preview the HBCU National Game of the Week. Let me plug it now. Don't forget to check out the weekend edition of Box to Row. Can be heard on a radio station near you, as well as on Sirius XM on Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, and 3 p.m. Pacific time on Sirius XM College Sports Radio. That's channel 84. And then also on Sirius XM on the HBCU channel. Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern. That is 8 a.m. Central time. Excuse me. And 6 a.m. Pacific time. Make note of that. Put it in your calendar. Charles Huff, the head football coach of Marshall, going to join us on the program. Also, we'll have a celebrity guest picker this week, and our celebrity guest picker will pick 2 HBCU games, 2 FBS games, and 2 NFL games. Now, getting back to Charles Huff, the head coach at Marshall, a Hampton University graduate, and only the second HBCU grad to be a head football coach at an FBS institution. Tell a couple of friends about the HBCU Football Daily Podcast, where you can watch on the Box to Row YouTube channel, as well as listen and download on boxtorow.com, as well as iHeartMedia.com. Talk with you tomorrow.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the HBCU Football Daily Podcast. You can also listen to the podcast at boxtorow.com, iHeartMedia, or wherever you get your podcasts. Don't forget to get your HBCU football fix on Box to Row with Donal Ware each weekend on the radio station near you, and on Sirius XM on HBCU, channel 142, and on ESPNU Radio on Sirius XM, channel 84. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Box to Row for the latest in HBCU football, and don't forget to tell a friend.